Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving straight into a massive, literal game changer for the industry today. We're talking about moving away from that whole era of paper-heavy, purely operational purchasing and stepping into the highly strategic, data-driven powerhouse that is Procurement 4.0. If you've been wondering how the most successful companies are turning their supply chains into major competitive advantages, you are in exactly the right place.
But first, a quick reality check. Are you, or is your team, still stuck in the dark ages of procurement? I mean, think about your day-to-day workflow for a second. Does it still revolve around chasing down manual approvals? Are you dealing with physical order forms, disconnected spreadsheets, or those awful, outdated email chains that just seem to get lost in the void? Look, if any of this sounds painfully familiar, don't worry, you are absolutely not alone. But the landscape is shifting incredibly fast, and sticking to these traditional methods is quickly becoming a massive liability.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the explainer today. 1. The procurement plight. 2. Enter Procurement 4.0. 3. Technologies driving the change. 4. Essential 21st century skills. 5. Empowering new leadership styles. And finally, 6. The procurement endgame.
All right, kicking things off with part 1, the procurement plight.
So here's the fundamental issue, right? Procurement today is obviously vital, but man, it can be incredibly inefficient and disconnected. Procurement officers are highly skilled professionals, yet they end up spending the vast majority of their time on manual busy work, processing invoices, tracking down physical signatures, making phone calls just to figure out where an order actually is. It's just a really non-transparent and reactive environment. But contrast that with the vision for Procurement 4.0. Now we're looking at a system that's data-driven, fully automated, and giving you real-time insights. Instead of just reacting to shortages when they happen, procurement becomes this strategic, transparent ecosystem that actually anticipates needs before they even pop up.
Which brings us nicely to part 2. Enter Procurement 4.0. To actually fix these pain points, we need to define what exactly we're talking about here. Procurement 4.0 is essentially the revolution of traditional procurement using Industry 4.0 technologies. We're talking about bringing together big data analytics, the Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence to pull out real-time insights. By leveraging modern platforms, like Simple System, for instance, companies can completely digitize and automate their workflows, which creates these massive cross-functional synergies across the whole organization. And the perks of making this leap to e-procurement platforms? They're huge, and they happen fast. For one, it enables true global procurement, so you're seamlessly handling different currencies and languages without breaking a sweat. It drives internal integration, which finally kills that frustrating information asymmetry between departments. You get a centralized repository of electronic catalogs, meaning you have a crystal clear picture of exactly what's being bought, who it's from, and for how much. Add in automated contract compliance tracking using supplier scorecards, plus way faster order processing, and you pretty much eliminate the manual busy work that's been bogging down purchasing departments for decades. Moving on to part 3, technologies driving the change. 100%. That's it. That is the absolute holy grail KPI in supply chain management, isn't it? 100% on time in full, or OTF, delivering the exact product in the exact quantity at the exact agreed place and time. Cloud-based digital supply chain management systems are synthesizing real-time data from across some really fragmented value chains to make this 100% target an actual reality, rather than just a pipe dream. And they're doing it while simultaneously reducing standing inventory. So how exactly do they pull that off? Well, it comes down to smart algorithms and robotic process automation, or RPA. These tools digest massive volumes of data from highly heterogeneous sources. And they don't just tell you what happened yesterday. They offer predictive and prescriptive analytics to actually forecast market trends. Like using AI integrations, when a critical component hits its minimum inventory threshold, the RPA engine instantly and automatically issues a purchase order based on predefined rules. It literally eliminates those human-caused inventory bottlenecks. All right, let's look at the human side in part 4, essential 21st century skills. Now, what's really interesting about this data from Roland Berger is how vividly it shows the shift in our day-to-day roles. They surveyed 150 category managers and asked them to rank 175 different tasks. Look at the bottom-ranked ones, determining return processes or creating a return PO. These have a complexity score of 1.0, and honestly, they're already fully automated by bots. But look at the top, creating and approving strategy, reviewing and negotiating contracts. These have incredibly high complexity and collaboration scores.
These strategic tasks have a very low likelihood of automation anytime soon. The big takeaway here? Humans are finally being freed from the mundane stuff so we can focus entirely on high-value, highly collaborative strategic problem solving. To survive this shift, though, we need a totally new skill set. Professor Dr. Florian Kuhn's hit the nail on the head when he said, digital fluency can be considered as a new key meta competency that enables people to reach set goals by being in command of digital tools. Because let's be real, you can't just blindly trust an AI to handle complex, nuanced supplier relationships. You need the digital fluency to assess the true added value of these disruptive technologies and know exactly when human intervention is actually required. And digital fluency isn't just some corporate buzzword. It's an actual, measurable progression that procurement staff really have to master. It breaks down into 3 distinct stages. Stage 1 is explicit digital knowledge, so the basic ability to understand, filter, and analyze data. Stage 2 is implicit digital knowledge. This is the critical thinking part, where you recognize if a shiny new digital solution is actually pragmatic or if it's just a waste of time. And finally, stage 3 is digital self-efficacy, that deep-seated belief in your own digital abilities and having the confidence to apply them to completely unfamiliar, highly complex challenges. When we look at the Roland-Berger cognitive lens, it maps out the sweet spot. It's the exact intersection of explicit knowledge, digital fluency, human interaction, and complex problem solving. Think about it. Sending a simple purchase order only requires basic explicit digital knowledge, but to execute something major, like an overarching category strategy, that requires the ultimate combination of analytical capabilities, high-quality human collaboration, and creative leadership. Mastering that intersection is exactly what transforms your standard procurement staff into true most valuable players, your MVPs. Which leads us to part 5, empowering new leadership styles. So how do you actually build a team of MVPs in a VUCA world? Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Well, you definitely can't do it with old-school micromanagement. Sheryl Sandberg put it perfectly. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that impact lasts in your absence. In Procurement 4.0, where the bots are handling the KPIs and the routine tasks, leaders have to step up. They need to convey the meaningfulness of change, empower their people to fail forward, be creative, and actually embrace digital disruption instead of fearing it. To pull this off, leaders essentially have to be chameleons, pivoting between 5 distinct styles. First, they have to act as a true leader over a manager, inspiring a vision rather than just tracking metrics. They need to be transformational, intellectually stimulating their teams. They must practice agile leadership, where people and working prototypes matter more than rigid plans. They need shared leadership, trusting the category experts to make decisions regardless of where they sit in the hierarchy. And finally, empowering cooperation, connecting the right people and giving them the absolute top-level backing to go out and deploy disruptive, creative solutions. And finally, wrapping up with part 6, the procurement endgame. Look, shifting to Procurement 4.0 isn't a walk in the park. There are definitely hurdles. Organizations have to overcome high initial system costs. They have to seamlessly integrate these platforms into legacy ERPs, and probably the biggest one, overcoming employee resistance. How do we do that? Through highly targeted upskilling. Universities are already stepping up, teaching advanced data analytics using real-life cases, and companies really need to provide methodological skills training, like design thinking and agile project management. And we're seeing this happen on a global scale. Take the UAE's Smart Government Initiative, boldly mandating a shift to a fully paperless, digitized procurement ecosystem. The blueprint is right there, and the tools are totally available. Which brings us to the ultimate question you've got to ask yourself and your organization today. When the algorithms and bots inevitably take over the mundane, repetitive stuff, and they will, is your team going to have the digital fluency and 21st century skills required to step up as the strategic MVPs your company desperately needs? Or are you going to be left behind in the dark ages, drowning in paper while your competitors leverage the full power of Procurement 4.0? The endgame is already here. It's time to make your move. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really encourage you to start assessing your team's digital fluency today.